Hey, everybody, welcome to the broadcast. It is a holiday today. I'm sure you've been celebrating. It is National Plan for Vacation Day. Finally, a holiday that is right up my alley. And so we're glad to have you with us today. Going to be sharing some travel tips and some ideas and suggestions all around this notion of planning for your vacation. Now, you're probably tuning in because you were hoping to see my friend Darley Newman. That's probably the only reason you're actually watching. And I apologize. Darley is actually out. I hope I'm okay to say this. She's under the weather. She's not feeling well today. So she asked if I could carry on without her. And the answer is no. No, I can't carry on without her. But I did have someone that was nice enough to actually volunteer. Look at that. Volunteer to help and to fill in. And Darley has given her seal of approval and a thumbs up. And so this is Dolsee Davenport from Custer, South Dakota, where I understand it is 16 degrees and snowing.
It is. It is the perfect day to plan a summer vacation. When it is this cold, all we want to think about is where we're going this summer.
Yeah, you got that right. And it's cold here in Missouri, but I think we got like 20 degrees on you. So now you were nice enough to volunteer. Well, I just want to make sure we get that out there. You actually
Yes.
called when I mentioned to you that Darley was sick and that we weren't going to be able to do our live broadcast. And you said, well, I'll jump in if you want. So because the thing is, when I do these little things with Darley, usually she's all about planning and she's very professional and she wants notes and a meeting and all, and I just turn the damn thing on and start talking, right? So but in a case like this, a little planning is probably important since we are talking about planning for a vacation. So you actually said you wanted to ask me a couple of questions about. And let's first just say what this is. So this is set up through the U.S. Travel Association. It really is a holiday, and it's
The
meant to get.
national day, right? The national
Yeah,
holidays. Yeah.
yeah, and it's meant to get people thinking about what they're going to do for vacation later in the year because many Americans, and I can't wrap my mind around this being self-employed. I don't get vacation days, but those of you out there watching who actually do get vacation days, many of you just let them go to waste, and I can't understand the logic behind that, but it happens, and billions and billions and billions of dollars in paid vacation just disappears. And so this is why they planned this holiday, just to get people thinking about planning for trips and to take your vacation. All right, I'll shut up now. You have questions.
Well, I looked up some stats yesterday and it said that last year, so in 2020, people on average used 6.8 days of for travel. 6.8 days of their days off for travel. And I can attest to that. I counted the days up that I took and I took 7 days off last year to travel.
Yeah, and they wasted, but they get like 17 of them, right? So I think that's the number that I read. So they only use about half. So even then, they're wasting part of their vacation time. Now this, you talk about looking up information. I looked this up today, and I guess this makes sense. So they say they have research that backs up that anticipating a vacation brings the same positive effect to you that rivals being on vacation. So just the mere fact that you've planned a vacation can get you just as excited as being on the vacation itself. I don't know that I.
Do you enjoy planning trips? Like I love planning trips. Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Well, it depends on the trip. I'm working now on a 3 week road trip for the spring. I'll be rolling that out and telling people more about that in the coming weeks. But yeah, it can be a pain in the butt, but it is fun doing the research and seeing what's out there that I haven't seen before, or some things that I want to check out and do. So yeah, so in that respect, it's like putting a puzzle together, especially the longer the trip.
So my first question is,
Okay.
what is your process for planning a trip that you go on or planning your vacation? What's your process for doing that?
Well, first of all, I don't do vacations, and the vacations I do, I don't vacation well. I always have to be thinking about. Well, I would say so. People ask this occasionally when I do book signings. Back when we were able to actually be in person with folks, and they'll say, "Well, how do you plan a road trip?" So the best way that I can describe it is, and this will sound insanely simple, but I look at the map. I have the Google map, okay, and I just pick a spot. Usually I have a place in mind that I want to go. So I have a point A, home obviously, and point B, my destination. And then what I do, honestly, I look along that route and I just kind of zoom in on the map and I look for towns that either I've never heard of before or places that maybe I've heard of before, but I don't remember why they're, memorable to me. And then of course I find places that, I know I want to visit, and kind of make some notes. And then each of these places, obviously, if they're big enough, have some sort of a record on Google or whatever your favorite search engine is, and then I try to look and see if there are reasons to stop. And the one thing that I guess my biggest piece of advice to people is to um, make a bunch of mini road trips instead of one road trip. In other words, if you're going, let's say you're going to Custer, South Dakota, right? Free plug there. So that's probably what I think it's about 13 or 14 hours from where I live. So instead of making it a 14-hour drive, you break it up to 2 or 3 hour drives and find things along the way that you can look forward to visiting. Now, whether that's a kind of a fun roadside attraction, maybe there's a museum or a small town that maybe you want to check out along the way, and it doesn't even have to be an overnight stay or a couple of hours. It can just be a way to get out of the car, stretch your legs, and reset. And your trip will go, in my opinion, in my experience, so much faster than having to look ahead for a really long road trip. Do you do that?
I've done a road trip in the last couple of years where I drove 12 hours straight, and that was horrible. That was way too long. I definitely needed to break up that trip, and I learned my lesson on that road trip that I can't go 12 hours straight in the car. That is just not for me. I know some people can do that. I cannot do that. So lesson learned.
Well, you should have asked me for advice. I would have told you not to do that. But now you know.
Next time.
Now you know for the next one. The other thing, and I know you actually go on real vacations, so you know about this, but
Yes.
I use travel apps occasionally when I'm planning these road trips and when I'm actually on the road trip itself. And one that I love because I like kind of the quirky, world's largest rocking chair or the world's tallest easel or whatever it is. There's an app called Roadside America, and it's not a free app. But I will tell you, I think in total you spend like $6 to unlock everything that it has to offer. And I use that thing on every single trip. And essentially what it is, you click on it wherever you happen to be. It's obviously uses GPS, and it will tell you basically within, I think it's about 50 to 100 miles, what are kind of either weird or obscure or quirky things that you can go and see. And they're all rated. So you can see if something has just 1 star, that's probably not worth seeing. But others, if it's 4 or 5 stars, yeah, it's something kind of cool, kind of interesting, maybe a fun photo op for your Instagram or Facebook account or whatever. And it's a good way to plan where you're gonna, like I say, stop the car and stretch your legs a little bit.
Yeah, that kind of breaks up your trip and makes it a little bit more fun when you're from between points and all of that. So I think that that's a cool thing to do. Not
Yeah.
something I've done yet, but maybe my next road trip.
You should. Okay. So, any other questions for me? You had a list. I refused to. You
I have
sent
a
me a
whole
list earlier.
list.
I refused to read your list. I wanted to know these live on the air. So go ahead.
Well, you know my favorite question. We talked about this earlier. What is your vacation inspiration?
My vacation inspiration. Usually, it's to get the heck out of cold weather. that is my inspiration. Is that what you mean? Is that what you're going for?
Well,
The
I
reason
guess
I want to
how do
get
you
out of town?
yes, and the reason for why you're going someplace, why in particular the places you've chosen to go, and why in particular not just the destination, but um, the attractions you might see, the restaurants you might go to, all of that. What's your inspiration?
I as far as the Bill on the Road stuff goes, I like highlighting places that a lot of people either don't know about or they don't think about. I think a lot of small towns get kind of lost in the mix. So I like to highlight those, but I also enjoy when you go to a place you've never been before. You're usually going to meet people you didn't know before, and I that to me is, and I've always said this when I first started this in 2013. It was all about the places, going to the museums or the historic, whatever. But I would say within 6 months to a year, it quickly became about the people that you meet during your road trips, and I've been lucky to meet all sorts of interesting people from all across the country because of travel. So for me, that's probably my most, that's that's what inspires me. That's my vacation inspiration. Was that the phrase? I think I got it right.
Yeah, it's vacation inspiration. I guess I was thinking, personally, my friend and I want to go to every state by the time we turn 40. And so anytime we're planning a vacation, we always kind of have that in mind, I guess. Which states haven't we been to yet? Or which states could we kind of cross off the list next? And then from there, we are always trying to find, fun stuff to do while we're there. But that's kind of the inspiration is, let's get that next state crossed off the list.
Yeah, well, I've now surpassed 40, so I can't play along on that.
What could
But
be
I
by 50?
I can do 50 by 50. I'm getting close, but I still have
There you go.
a handful more to go. You mentioned restaurants. A lot of people actually travel because of food. I don't include myself in that group, but although I have made certain stops for certain types of food, whether it's stopping at somewhere that has an In-N-Out burger, which I love, or going through certain parts of Wisconsin because you like the fresh cheese curds or whatever. But how do you find the best restaurants to visit?
Well, I'm always looking for a really good donut place. I like
Donuts,
to
yeah.
have a donut everywhere I travel to. So I'm always kind of in the search for the best donut place or some donut place with a cool name. In Minneapolis, we went to Glam Doll Donuts, and that was kind of a cool thing. When I was in Ohio a couple years ago as part of the road trip, I found actually the day before, I found the Butler County Donut Trail, which is by far the coolest thing I've ever done. I didn't get to all 12 of them, but I made it to like four, I think, the next morning. And so I'm always kind of looking on Instagram or Pinterest, Facebook, even, and just trying to find, those restaurants that are listed multiple times, have really good reviews. But I always want something different, something I can't get at home. We have great restaurants here in Custer, but I don't want to eat at a chain restaurant that you can eat anywhere. I want to try something different and fun and funky and unique. So that's what I'm always looking for. But I love food. I'm a foodie, and so I kind of basically travel so I can eat good food.
Yeah, and you'll eat all the crazy stuff that I won't eat. So it does help
Yes.
that it does help when your palate is such that you are interested in a lot of different types of food. You can be a little more adventurous and find some things. I was going to mention. So you're talking about, first of all, if you're just joining us, it's planned for Vacation Day, and we want people to start thinking now of ways to spend your vacation days. For the love of God, don't let them go to waste. Don't think you're impressing your boss by not taking the. Your boss thinks you are a sucker if you aren't taking your vacation days. Make no, you've heard it here first. So start planning for your trips now, and make sure you use all those and go do some traveling. One thing that I was going to mention as people are traveling, I think state parks are sort of forgotten when people are traveling. Not by everyone, but I think a lot of people they first think of national parks, which are all great, but especially later this year when things are going to start opening up. national parks are going to be packed. I mean, they were packed during the pandemic because people wanted to be outdoors and everything. But I would suggest looking through some state parks if that's your thing and you like hiking and being in the outdoors. Many states have, I know here in Missouri, we have wonderful, wonderful state parks, and they're all free. Not that it's not the case in every state, but add those to your list and maybe look for some. You have great state parks in South Dakota.
Yeah, South Dakota has a lot of state parks too. Custer State Park is the one that's closest to us here in Custer,
Right.
obviously. But I was in Minnesota this year. We went up along the North Shore by Duluth, and they have tons of state parks up there, and they were absolutely gorgeous. We had some great pictures, some great hiking, and I was really glad that we took the time to kind of look those up and figure out, where we wanted to go because it was absolutely stunning, especially with the color change. And state parks are amazing. I mean, we're so lucky to have those, and a nice thing to do on your vacation. Get out and get some exercise.
All right, now before I hit my last point here, well, I got two more quick ones to mention. Did you have any more questions I don't want to, I know you took a lot of time writing these down.
Um, One thing I did want to ask, do you make an itinerary that you follow, step by step, day by day, timed everything out, or do you just kind of wing it as you go?
So I would say, so my advice to people would be different than what I do. This is one of those, don't do as I say, not as I do situations. So for me, when I travel and I have a limited amount of time usually, and I'm trying to see as much as I can, usually in a host city. When they pick up the tab, you certainly want to, go to all the places that they want you to see. So I keep a pretty tight schedule, but my advice to people when they do vacations and they travel, well, here's a great example. So I'm going to Vegas next, I'll be in Vegas next week. And so every day of the trip, I've got one thing on the agenda. That's it. Just one thing that I absolutely want to do. It's like one day, the Hoover Dam is one. One day I'll be going to the neon graveyard where they have all the old neon signs from Vegas. But that way, you at least get one thing, and then your schedule is free. If you find something else that you didn't plan on, you'll have time to go and do that and check out. And I say that because sometimes I think people they plan too much, and then they don't really take time to chill out, enjoy their time away. And if something else comes along that you really want to do, you can't do it if you have something else planned. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good advice.
Oh, good advice. Okay. You heard it here first. Okay. The last thing that I will mention, I think this is if as you're in it's planned for vacation day. National hang on, let me get the fancy logo up. National Plan for Vacation Day. One thing I also think people forget about is that every decent sized city or even small towns that get a decent amount of tourism traffic have what they call convention and visitors bureaus. And some people call them by other names. You all, I know, in South Dakota, it's a chamber of commerce, but it's the same thing. You're there to cater to well, not only your businesses, but to people who are traveling through. But I think a lot of times people forget that these are available and they're free resources for people who are traveling. Now, I'm not saying you should call up and ask them to plan your entire trip, but they can steer you in the right direction for hotels or maybe things that you want to do based on a particular interest. If you like we mentioned, you like hiking, you can call and go, hey, where are some great places to hike and that sort of thing. So that you do that for travelers, right?
Yep, so we run the visitor center here in Custer. And so when people are in town, they'll stop by and see us. And, we have brochures and magazines and all kinds of good information in our visitor center. We also take a lot of calls too. We can send out a vacation guide. We can help you with different questions you might have. We steer people to our website. And we always like to tell people too, if a business is on our website, they're a member of our chamber, but they're also one that we would recommend. So, we would never have somebody as a member that's gotten a lot of complaints or, different things like that. So if they're on our website, and I'm sure this is the same at other chambers, CBBs, DMOs, they're going to be ones that you can kind of trust. So I think that that's a really important thing to use the websites, that we put together that have lots of good information on them.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, and then the last thing, as you're planning, this will be the shameless plug. Uh, Whenever you do a talk show, they always have some sort of thing they're pitching. So yeah, so I have four books out, but this one probably for people who are planning a road trip, and especially if you haven't traveled in a while. This is probably the best of the ones if you're looking to, and just because there's just such a wide variety of things, and obviously there are more than 100 things to do in America before you die, but this will kind of get you, I think, pointed in some direction. And I do know people who they throw it in their glove compartment, and it's got an index. And when you're traveling, you're like, oh, let's see what's in here in this particular state or city. And maybe you haven't done, but you said you've used it.
I did. I took it on a road trip with me and I kind of crossed things off as I went. And it's kind of cool to look through it and think, okay, I've done this many things that are in the book, and here's the states I'm going to next. What are some things that are in the book to do? I love it. I took it with me on the road trip and it was something I used the whole time. So, yes, I definitely recommend this book. Five
Which you can
stars.
get here. Look at this fancy graphic. You can actually go to the BillOnTheRoad.com and click on the store and get your copy, and we'll send it out to you. I'm just gonna just mention this. Oops, hang on. I've got, when I wrote this book, it was obviously 100 things, and I had to whittle it down to 100 things. But there were several things that I actually had not done in the book when I wrote it. So I think I had accomplished about 85 of the 100 things. But so I'm gonna do two of them next week that are in the book that I haven't done. One is the Hoover Dam, and one is a photo with the "Welcome to Las Vegas," the "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign. So
I've
I'll
done
be up.
both of those
I think I'm getting
actually.
close to like 90 out of the 100. So one day. So, all right. Well, happy plan for vacation day, everyone. Do you want to give a quick plug for Custer, South Dakota before we bail?
Sure. Custer and the Black Hills are a great place for vacation, especially in the spring, summer, fall, unless you want to come out and see the snow, which you can totally do. But yeah, it's always a great time to see Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, Custer State Park. We have caves. We have fabulous food here. We have some of the best restaurants in South Dakota right here in Custer, South Dakota. So
What's
definitely
the
come
bur-
and
what's
visit
the
us.
what's the burger joint there?
Black Hills Burger and Bun Company.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty good. That's really good.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
what's the you have a what's the coasters, the what do they call them, you
Oh, the
know
Mountain Coaster?
the mountain coaster? That's a lot of fun.
Yes, yes, Rush Mountain up by Keystone. They are seriously probably my favorite place to visit in the Black Hills. It is so fun. I could ride that mountain coaster over and over and over again. I keep trying to let them like give me a pass so I can just like show it and like keep going and I don't have to get off because I love it so much.
They are fun. They have them in different parts of the country. I know they have a couple in the Smoky Mountains now. And I think there was a video, a YouTube video of a guy. Can't remember if it was Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, but there was a bear that was on the track as this guy was zooming down on his mountain coaster. But they are a lot of fun, and just a word of advice: don't even use the brakes. Just let it go. Just let it go
I
full
like to
speed ahead.
test them just to make sure, like as you're going along, just kind of pull them back a little bit. It's fine.
Don't listen to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. All right. Well, happy plan for vacation day. Thank you for filling in for Darlie. She gives her thumbs up.
Yeah.
You did a good
Well, tell
job.
her we hope she feels better soon.
Yeah, we do. If she's listening or watching on the couch in New York City, we hope Darlie feels better, and we hope you all have a wonderful plan for vacation day. Get out there, make sure you use all those vacation days. If not, cash them in and send me the check. You can always do
Use
that.
it. You can use it for Bill's book.
There you go. Yeah. You can buy 4 or 5 of them. All right.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Happy plan for vacation day, everybody. We'll see you next time.